Welcome to The Explainer. In this series, we take foundational texts and, well, we break them down into these clearer, engaging narratives.
Okay, so you've got this judge. He says, no crime here. And yet, you have a crowd just baying for blood. What exactly happened in Jesus' final hours, according to this ancient text? Let's dive into this dramatic account. We're going to stick strictly to the events as the source material describes them, walking through the trial, the execution, and the burial, step by step. All right, so our story kicks off with this really tense confrontation. You've got Pontius Pilate, the Roman governor, on one side, and on the other, the local religious leaders, and they've brought Jesus to him for judgment. Pilate, who's the ultimate Roman authority there, basically comes right out and says it, multiple times. After looking into it from a Roman legal standpoint, there's just no grounds for a death sentence. He even brings Jesus out to the crowd almost like he's trying to say, see, nothing to see here, let's all go home. But when their first plan doesn't work, the accusers completely switch gears. They pivot. They go from a political charge to a religious one, blasphemy. And this is a huge turning point. The text says that hearing this claim makes Pilate even more afraid. Which really makes you wonder, right? What is he so afraid of? So Pilate pulls Jesus aside, away from all the noise, and questions him one-on-one. He tries to pull rank. I have the power to free you or to crucify you. But Jesus' reply is, well, it's pretty cryptic. He basically says that Pilate's power isn't his own. It's just on loan from a higher divine authority. It totally reframes the whole power dynamic of the conversation. Seeing Pilate getting cold feet, the leaders play their trump card. They make it personal. They turn it into a threat against his career, his very survival. They basically say, if you let this man go, you're no friend of Caesar. It's a direct challenge to his loyalty. And it works. That political pressure is the final push, and Pilate caves. He hands Jesus over to be crucified. So, the verdict is in. And now, the Roman soldiers take over. What happens next is just this cruel, systematic mockery, and it's all centered on that one title that got him condemned, King of the Jews. The text lays out 4 specific things they do. First, they flog him. Then they take these symbols of royalty, a crown, a purple robe, and they twist them into tools of humiliation. And to top it all off, they slap him in the face while mockingly saluting him. And then the scene changes. Jesus is now forced to carry his own cross out of the city to the place of execution. The text even gives us its name in Aramaic, Golgotha, which means, chillingly, the place of the skull. Now, the way he's positioned at the execution site is described really specifically. He's not off to the side. He's put right in the middle, making him the undeniable focal point between 2 other men being executed with him. Okay, this next part is really interesting. Pilate writes up the official charge and has it nailed to the cross. But look at this. He has it written in 3 different languages. You've got Aramaic for the locals, Latin for the Roman officials, and Greek, which was the common language of the whole empire. He's making absolutely sure that everyone there, no matter who they are, can read and understand the declared reason for this execution. Well, the chief priests see this, and they are not happy. They immediately protest the wording. They want it changed to say that Jesus claimed to be a king, but Pilate, he just shuts them down. His response is blunt, final. What I have written, I have written. That's it. Debate over. His public declaration stands. So as was the custom, the soldiers on duty start dividing up his clothes. But his undergarment, it's different. It's woven in a single, seamless piece. So instead of ripping it, they decide to gamble for it. They cast lots. And the text makes a point of saying that this specific action fulfills an ancient scripture. All right, we're now approaching the climax of the whole narrative. The focus gets really tight, really dramatic, zeroing in on Jesus' final moments and his last words from the cross. And what we see is this very deliberate sequence of events. First, he speaks, saying he's thirsty. And again, the text links this to fulfilling scripture. He's offered a drink of wine vinegar. And right after he takes it, he declares, "It is finished." Then he bows his head and he dies. The way it's told, this isn't him just fading away. It feels like a conscious, deliberate act of completion. Then the narrative drops in another piece of scripture, and it kind of builds this suspense. See, to speed up death by crucifixion, soldiers would often break the condemned's legs. So this prophecy, not one of his bones will be broken, sets up a real question: is it actually going to happen? And sure enough, the soldiers come along and break the legs of the other 2 men. But when they get to Jesus, they see he's already dead. So they don't break his legs. Instead, a soldier pierces his side with a spear. And the text points this out as fulfilling yet another prophecy.
With Jesus' death now confirmed, the whole focus of the story shifts. Two characters who have been completely in the background, sort of in the shadows, suddenly step right into the spotlight. The text tells us about these two men, Joseph of Arimathea and Nicodemus. They're identified as secret disciples. They follow Jesus but quietly because they were afraid of the religious leaders. But now, in this moment of total crisis, they do something incredibly bold. They go straight to the Roman governor and make a very public and very dangerous request for the body.
And you can just see their level of commitment here. Nicodemus shows up with a mixture of myrrh and aloes that weighs about 75 pounds. I mean, this is not a small gesture. This is an enormous, extravagant, almost royal quantity of burial spices. This final act is described with such care. They follow the Jewish burial customs, wrapping the body in linen strips with all those expensive spices. And then they lay him in a new tomb, one that had never been used before, in a garden that was close by. And that's where the story ends. Not with the shouting crowds, not with the soldiers, but with this quiet, incredibly costly act of burial. It leaves you with this stark contrast, right? You have the public spectacle of the cross, and then the private conviction of these two men. And it makes you wonder, why does this story, so full of public drama, choose to end on such an intimate, almost secret act of devotion?